Today was the third day of the cross-examination of the head of the Directorate of Forensic Sciences, Uganda Police, that is Andrew Mubiru, appearing before Justice Isaac Muwata. This was the continuation of the trial of 5 people who were named in the murder of the businessman, the late Henry Katanga, who was killed at his residence in Mbuya in November 2023. And some of these include the widow, Molly Katanga, his 2 daughters, a shamba boy, and a nurse. The defense lawyers have been cross-examining Andrew Mubiru, the head of the Forensic Sciences at Uganda Police, over what they allege was contamination of some of the DNA samples that were picked for analysis, plus also forgery of the results.
It is abundantly clear that the Directorate of Forensic Services operated as a kitchen that cooks evidence and not as a lab that finds it.
In order to make their case, the defense lawyers submitted to court saying that how was it possible that the DNA that was picked from the projectile, that is the killer bullet that killed the late Henry Katanga, had more DNA of Molly Katanga, who is now the accused, yet it went through the head of the deceased.
So it is your evidence that the bullet that went through Mr. Katanga's head had Mrs. Katanga as the main contributor of DNA.
Yes, and that's why we said therefore the suspect cannot be excluded as a donor contributor.
The defense lawyers submitted saying that Andrew Mubiru was supervising the team that was collecting samples from the crime scene, and at the same time is the same person who carried out the analysis of the DNA, and thus the lawyers said that that could have already indicated that he was not independent enough to give credible results.
In the habit swabbing samples, rather shuffling samples. You are in the habit of deliberately carrying out contaminations and manufacturing fake reports.
That's not true, my lord.
The DNA analysis report that was submitted by prosecution as evidence indicates that there were 2 contributors on some of the DNA samples that were picked by police and analyzed, but they cannot identify the contributors. And thus, the defense lawyers, based on this, to claim that there could have been contamination of some of the samples by the investigating officers.
The selective swabbing of specimen, the failure to test what you should have tested, the contamination in your lab were all deliberate to manufacture a fraudulent case against the Katanga widow and the Katanga orphans.
That's not true, my lord.
The DNA analysis report that was submitted to the defense lawyers has a missing sample H, yet on the record that was submitted to court plus that the prosecution is using has that very sample H, and thus the defense lawyers are saying that that is an indication of forgery of some of these results.
The one which is in the court.
Yes, this one.
Yes.
Has H.
Yeah. The other one doesn't have exhibit H. Does it?
No, it doesn't.
Earlier on, my learned friend Harrison asked you about tampering with the exhibits. Isn't this evidence of tampering?
No, it's not, my lord.
Okay.
This witness is not a competent witness through whom to tender the document. If that were the case, then they should just bring everything we disclose to them and we throw them on the court record. But that is not the law.
Court was adjourned until the 26th of September 2024, and it will be during this very time when the judge is going to decide as to whether or not to allow the defense lawyers to submit the DNA analysis report as evidence in court. Sudhir Byaruhanga, NTV at the High Court, Kampala.